why you wouldn't survive life in a medieval monastery. You wake up choking on incense and regret. The bell above your head rings like a punch to the soul, tearing through the stale dawn air. It's still dark, not just early morning dark. You're lying on a hard wooden board with a single thin blanket, if it can even be called that, clinging to your shivering body like a damp rag. There is no mattress. That's a luxury for sinners. You are not supposed to be comfortable. Comfort leads to sloth. Sloth leads to hell. You sit up, bones creaking like the monastery's timbered roof during a storm. Your breath fogs in the air. It is winter, or summer. It honestly doesn't matter. Inside the stone walls, it's always the same temperature, cold, damp, and soaked in centuries of silence and mildew. You slept in your robe. Everyone does. There's no privacy, no pajamas, no time. Just the scratchy wool habit, your daily reminder that penance is itchy. The bell keeps ringing. You shuffle from your cell. Cell is such an accurate word, it sounds so much more monastic than closet or tomb, but functionally, it is all three. About the size of a modern bathroom stall if you're lucky, there's a single candle stub near your door. You do not light it. That would be wasteful. You know the way by now. Barefoot and blind, you and your fellow monks line up in silence. Always silence. Talking is a sin. Breathing too loudly is borderline heresy. Welcome to Matins. The chapel is dark, lit only by a few guttering lanterns and the flicker of the eternal candle. Rows of tired men mumble Latin psalms under their breath, mostly from memory. Most of you can't actually read Latin fluently, but you know enough syllables to fake holiness in the dark. The chanting is hypnotic, monotonous, and painfully slow. You sway slightly, not from devotion, from sleep deprivation. You went to bed around 9 p.m. It's now about 2:30 in the morning. This is normal. You will wake up several times throughout the night to pray. God, apparently, enjoys watching men suffer from chronic fatigue. He invented it. After an hour of barely conscious chanting, you return to your cell. You lie back down, not to sleep, but to exist horizontally for another 90 minutes. The bell rings again. You shuffle back. This time it's lauds, morning praise just before dawn. You pray again, though your soul has not yet rejoined your body. After lauds comes prime, then breakfast, a word that sounds hopeful, but is in practice a grim ritual. Today is not a feast day. You're not in Lent. That's the good news. The bad news is that breakfast is still medieval. You file into the refectory, the monastery's dining hall. Long wooden benches stretch across a room that smells of mold, tallow, and cabbage. Always cabbage. The walls are bare, the windows tiny, the air thick with the breath of 30 men who haven't bathed in ever. Your meal is a slice of coarse rye bread and a weak ale, possibly supplemented by a sad dollop of cold porridge if the abbot is feeling generous. No one speaks. A younger monk stands at a pulpit reading scripture aloud while you eat. The word of God is apparently best digested with lumps of flour and regret. You chew slowly, very slowly. Not because you're pious, because the bread is hard enough to crack a molar. You once saw Brother Edric lose a tooth mid-prayer and quietly pocket it, lest he interrupt the reading with a scream. You wash down the brick with ale. It's weak, slightly sour, and safer than water, which tends to come with dysentery. After breakfast comes chapter. The meeting, Not the literary kind. All the monks gather as the Rule of Saint. Benedict is read aloud. Again, you've heard it daily for years now. You know Eve, Rye passage. Every warning. Especially the one about obedience. Always obedience. The abbot addresses minor sins, brother. Anselm fell asleep during matins. Brother Godwin was seen speaking. Speaking. In the garden. Public penance is issued. Sometimes that means extra prayers. Sometimes it means wearing a heavy iron chain under your robe. Once, it meant lying face down in the chapel while the others stepped over him. You nod solemnly. Inside you quietly panic, trying to remember if anyone saw you yawn during lauds. Then it's work time. You, dear novice, have been assigned to the garden. Lucky you, others are not so fortunate. Some copy manuscripts in the scriptorium. Where the windows are small, the ink is frozen by mid-morning, and the posture will ruin your spine by age 30. Some tend the livestock, some cook, some clean, and some, the unfortunate few, tend to the latrines. Your garden is less Eden and more mud with ambitions. You spend the next 4 hours digging with numb fingers, pulling weeds, and whispering apologies to the carrots you accidentally uproot. Lunch comes. It is slightly more food, slightly less cold, and still accompanied by holy reading. If it's a fast day, which is roughly half the calendar, it's even less appetizing. Lent, in particular, means no meat, no dairy, no joy. Silence is still enforced. After lunch, there is a brief period of rest. Technically, you lie in your cell, trying not to think about how cold your feet are or how loud your stomach is. The straw-stuffed pillow has molded into a shape vaguely resembling a rock. You do not nap, you do not dream. You simply wait, then comes none. Another round of prayer. Then work resumes. Then vespers. The evening prayer. Then dinner. It is almost identical to lunch, except your appetite is now dulled by sheer emotional exhaustion. The candles flicker lower. The sky grows darker. The cold sharpens. You kneel again. This time for Compline, the final prayer of the E-Day. By now your knees have formed a callus, a kind of spiritual armor against splinters and suffering. You pray for forgiveness, you pray for strength, you pray for warmer socks. After Compline, there is the great silence, no talking from now until morning. Not that anyone has the energy. You return to your cell, you lie down on your wooden slab, you stare at the ceiling. There is no pillow, just your own thoughts. You try not to think about sin. You try not to think about food. You try not to think about Brother Anselm's snoring. You fail. You dream, finally, of buttered bread and a woman's voice. You will confess it tomorrow. And perhaps in your heart you wonder, if God is really watching all this, but you don't ask, that would be dangerous. You are not here to ask questions. You are here to suffer, to pray, to die quietly. And this is only Monday. You wake up to the sound of vomiting. It's unclear who the culprit is. Brother Oswin, perhaps. He's been coughing all week, and now the sickness has claimed him loudly. Somewhere down the corridor, you'd feel bad for him if you weren't too busy trying not to join in. The bell rings, another morning begins. You rise before the sun, again. The smell of bile mixes with the ancient dust and candle wax in the air. you whisper a silent prayer. Not for salvation, but for a day without anything new crawling on your skin. You shuffle through the stone passageway. Your robe drags along the floor. The cold has found its way into your bones, and it has made a home there, Matins begins. Again. The same words, the same droning cadence. Latin, endless Latin. Your eyes blur. The chant surrounds you like fog. You're not even sure you're awake. It doesn't matter. God is watching, even if you aren't. Lauds comes after. The sun begins to rise behind the stained glass. Not that you see it. You are kneeling, head bowed, pretending your back doesn't ache and your knees aren't screaming. Breakfast. Today, it's watery gruel, gray, lukewarm, and inexplicably chewy. You wonder what it's made of. Then you realize that knowing would make it worse. You eat in silence, chewing slowly, while Brother Cadfan reads from Leviticus. Something about animal sacrifice and mildew. You begin to suspect God has a very particular aesthetic. After chapter meeting, you are sent to clean the dormitory floors. A gift, really. At least it's indoors. You scrub the stone with a cloth and a bucket of cold, dirty water. Soap is rare, usually reserved for laundering altar linens. You're on your hands and knees, wiping decades of grime from between the slabs while trying not to breathe in the scent of damp feet and mildew. You wonder, not for the first time, how saints manage to smell so holy. Then comes terce. Yes, another prayer. By now you've noticed a pattern. Wake, pray, eat. Work, pray, work, eat. Pray, sleep, repeat. Endlessly, monastic life is a wheel, and you, dear monk, are the spoke. After terce, the infirmarian requests help. You are handed a bucket and a cloth. You are to assist with Brother Oswin. The infirmary is a narrow, dark room at the far end of the monastery. It smells of vinegar and urine, and something else, something worse. You do not ask, you simply help hold the bowl while Oswin retches into it again. He's burning with fever, mumbling in Latin, and then slipping into English when he forgets himself. You are not allowed to speak, but the infirmarian does. He's got the flux again, too much damp, bad air. Bad air is the standard diagnosis. For anything, coughing, bad air, rash, bad air, fever, definitely the air. You wonder how air became your enemy, but you don't ask. Questions are for scholars. You are just a body in a robe. You leave Oswin wrapped in rough wool, eyes fluttering, lips chapped. The infirmarian crushes herbs in a mortar and mutters a prayer over he mixture. It might help. It probably won't. It's nearly midday. The sun is shining, barely, through the clouds. You are sent to the cloister to weed the flagstones. The garden, ringed by arches, offers a moment of quiet beauty. Damp roses, moss-covered stone, a bee drunk on thyme. For a moment, you almost feel something like peace. Then you remember your bladder is full, and you haven't urinated since before matins. You ask the prior for permission with a gesture, a humble nod and folded hands. He grants it with a grunt. The latrine is, in a word medieval, a long stone trench with wooden seats perched precariously over a pit. The smell is biblical. You do your business in a crouch, clutching your robes to avoid the inevitable splashback. There is no toilet paper. There is a communal sponge on a stick. You decline. You return to the cloister with your dignity reduced by half, and the faint scent of ammonia trailing behind you. Then, sext, another prayer. Lunch comes, peas and onions, boiled into a texture that defies language. You chew until it becomes memory, then wash it down with warm, stale ale. In the afternoon, you are sent to the scriptorium. The room is quiet, cold, and filled with men hunched over parchment. You are not copying text. You are scraping vellum. With a dull knife, you carefully remove imperfections from stretched animal skin. The smell of drying hides and ink is overpowering. Your hand cramps, your back aches. You are 17 years old and you feel 90. Brother Thomas is illuminating a manuscript nearby. Gold leaf and bright pigments. He dips his brush in a shell of red made from crushed insects. Real artistry. Real holiness. He is missing 2 fingers on his left hand. No one knows how. He never talks about it. You suspect the knife slipped. Or maybe he cut them off on purpose to escape this life. No one would blame him. As the sun begins to fade, you light the oil lamps along the cloister corridor. The wicks sputter. The smell of burning tallow fills your nose, thick and smoky, with a hint of sheep fat. Vespers, then dinner. A repeat of lunch, but colder and with more chewing involved. Compline comes, and the chapel is quieter than ever. Brother Oswin did not join you. He may not wake up tomorrow. You pray for his soul, you pray for yours. You return to your cell, you lie down, you scratch at the lice bite on your neck, you stare at the ceiling. The silence settles over you like another woolen blanket, heavy, suffocating. And yet you feel strangely calm. There's a rhythm here. Misery. Yes, but predictable misery. Your suffering is shared. Your path is clear. You do not need to think, only obey. You begin to fall asleep. And just before the blackness takes you, the bell rings. It's midnight. It's time to wake up again. You wake up gasping, not from a dream, but from the cold. It's colder than usual. You exhale and see your breath hang in the air like a ghost that's decided to stay. The bell hasn't rung yet, but you know it will. You've developed a monk's internal clock, cursed with precision, blessed with no snooze button. The bell rings, matins calls again. You rise. The robe sticks to your skin with a dampness that makes you wonder if you've sweat in your sleep or if the walls have simply started leaking into you. You can't feel your toes. As you shuffle toward the chapel in your bare feet, you glance through a narrow window. A layer of frost crusts the outside of the glass. It's not even winter. This is just normal. Inside the chapel, candles tremble with cold. You kneel with you, your brothers. The stones beneath your knees are unforgiving, as always. You chant, low and slow. The same psalms in the same sequence. No one dares sing with too much feeling. Joy is dangerous. Joy might wake you up too much. Brother Elric sneezes once, loudly. You feel a silent wave of collective disapproval ripple through the room like a liturgical fart. There is no penance for sneezing, not officially, but you know he'll be washing pots for the next 3 weeks. Lauds. The sky begins to pale, faint and colorless, like watered-down wine. You return to your cell. There's no point lying back down. You're already halfway to your next prayer. You sit on your slab and scratch at your scalp. You have lice, again. Or still. It's hard to tell when they arrive and when they leave. You feel them behind your ears, in the seams of your robe. Everyone has them. They are, arguably, the only thing thriving in this monastery. Breakfast, it's a fast day. You are given bread, black, chewy, and dense enough to wound someone if thrown with conviction. There is no butter. That would be luxurious. There is no jam. That would be sinful. Just a few inches of spiritual fortitude with a smear of humility. You drink weak ale, still slightly fizzy from the fermenting barrel. It tastes like bread that's forgotten its purpose. The daily reading is from the book of Job. Of course it is. After breakfast, the abbot calls for volunteers. This is a trick. Volunteering in a monastery is like volunteering for a medieval surgical demonstration. You're not quite sure what part of you will be removed, but it's going to hurt. You are assigned to help clean the privy trench. You knew this day would come. The trench lies beyond the monastery walls, built over a small stream. It's designed so waste will move along. That's the theory. In practice, the stream is sluggish, the trench is clogged, and the stench is aggressive. You and Brother Matthew carry wooden buckets of lime to pour into the trench. You try to breathe through your mouth. This does not help. Now, it just smells like burning rot and mint. You gag once. Then again, Brother Matthew, more experienced, hums quietly while poking at the sludge with a stick. His eyes are glazed. You wonder if he's gone mad or achieved enlightenment. There's a fine line in this place. You return to the cloister after 2 hours, your hands stained and your soul slightly lighter, or perhaps more resigned. You kneel for terce, still smelling of privy. After prayer, you're allowed into the library. This is a rare privilege. The monastic library is the closest thing to magic you've ever seen. Rows of books, handwritten, illuminated, bound in leather and wood, sit on shelves like sacred relics. You are not permitted to touch them, but you may copy. You are given a psalter to transcribe. Your quill is a goose feather, your ink thick and dark, made from oak, hulse, and iron salts. You scratch each letter carefully, slowly, as though the ink were flammable. One mistake, and you must start again. The Latin flows beneath your hand. You understand almost none of it, but the act of copying is prayer. Each letter is obedience. Each stroke is devotion. You wonder if God really reads these pages, or if he just enjoys watching men go blind in dim rooms. The bell rings, sext. Lunch today is lentil pottage, which sounds more promising than it is. It tastes like hot sand, and it smells like something once edible left to contemplate its own mortality. You chew with discipline. You burp once. Quietly, Brother Peter hears it. He looks at you as though you've committed murder. You feel shame and relief. At least it wasn't audible to the abbot. You are assigned to the herb garden after lunch. There is a joy here, hidden beneath the rot and rotund silence. You crush time between your fingers, and the smell lifts you for a moment. Mint, chamomile, rue, lavender. These things were once luxury. now, they are medicine. You're told what to harvest. You list N. You accidentally touch nettle. Your hand burns slightly. You pretend you meant to do that. A bee lands on your finger. You watch it. For a second, everything is still. Then it stings you. You are not allowed to scream. You suck in a breath and walk back inside, praying that your finger won't swell too obviously. There is no real treatment. You might get a cold compress if you're lucky. If not, you'll be told to pray harder. You spend the rest of the afternoon helping to bind books in the workshop. It's not glamorous. You're gluing parchment to wood boards, threading waxed string through holes and hoping the whole thing holds together. You slice your finger with a sewing needle. You bleed on the binding. You say nothing. The binding is red now, holy, perhaps Vespers comes with sunset. The candles flicker, a bat flutters near the rafters and is ignored. One of the brothers has started coughing, a dry, persistent cough that echoes in the chapel like a bad omen. Dinner is more bread, slightly less stale. Maybe because it was kept near the fire. Or maybe it's just softer with age, like a dead pear. Compline. You are so tired that your eyelids twitch during the final prayer. You fear someone will notice. Then you remember that everyone else is doing the same. You lie down. The cell feels colder tonight. Your blanket seems thinner. You wonder if it's shrunk or if you've grown hollow. Your finger throbs from the bee sting. Your knees ache from prayer. Your stomach is a gentle, empty drumbeat of want. You try to think of something comforting. You remember your mother's hands, her voice, the sound of wind in wheat fields, the smell of baking bread. You start to cry, just a little. You stop yourself. Tears are noise, and noise is disobedience. You close your eyes, and in the deep silence you hear it. The bell again. You wake up, but you're not sure how. There's a moment, a quiet, shapeless pause, where you aren't yet a person, just a bundle of bones wrapped in cold wool and faint dread. Then the bell rings. You remember where you are. You remember who you're pretending to be. You swing your legs over the edge of the wooden board that some call a bed, but which would be more accurately described as punishment with corners. The stone floor is damp. You step onto it anyway. There is no other option. You gave up options when you took the robe. Matins begins. It always does. The chapel is dim. You think about fire a lot, not in a violent way, just the warmth of it. The way it could make your fingers feel like fingers again instead of cold sticks attached to your robe sleeves. You sit, kneel, chant, stand, kneel again. The ritual is exact, repetitive, soothing. If you're not paying attention, maddening if you are, after the prayers, you return to your cell, you lie down, you do not sleep. You're too aware now. You've entered that cursed zone between exhaustion and alertness. You just lie there, counting the moments until the next bell. It comes quickly. Lauds, then breakfast. Today, you are treated to a stew of boiled beans and garlic. The beans are undercooked, the garlic is not. Your mouth burns slightly, a sensation you haven't felt in months. You can't tell if it's thrilling or alarming. Either way, it's followed by hiccups that echo in your skull. You try to swallow them down. The reader drones on through Ecclesiastes. All is vanity. How accurate. After breakfast, you are sent to the barn. You are helping Brother Alfric with the pigs today. The pigs are cleaner than expected and louder. Brother Alfric doesn't speak. He simply gestures. You follow orders. Gather hay, refill the trough, scoop manure. One pig eyes you like it knows something. You don't meet its gaze. You spend the morning trying not to step in anything irreversible. The smell clings to your robe. Sext comes and goes. You return to your cell to change robes. You only have two. One for everyday toil, one for divine ceremony. Yes, this was the toil one. It now smells like judgment. You hang it in your cell. It won't dry, not fully. Nothing does. Lunch is soup, probably turnip, possibly cabbage. You've learned not to ask. The less you know, the easier it is to swallow. You sit in the refectory with the others, head bowed, mouths chewing slowly, eyes dull. You imagine this is what purgatory looks like, an endless room of men quietly masticating boiled root vegetables while Leviticus is read aloud forever. After the meal, Brother Hugh passes behind you and coughs. Once, wetly, you flinch. Not out of fear, but recognition. You know that cough. The plague took your village 2 years ago. You buried your sister in a shallow grave near the river bank. You remember the sores, the blackened skin, the smell of rot hidden behind layers of lavender and denial. You look at Brother Hugh again. You do not say anything. He does not look well. You are sent to the storeroom next, a small, low-ceilinged room where sacks of grain sit like sleeping bodies. You're told to check for rot, for weevils, for damp. You open one bag and a puff of flour coats your face. You inhale it. You cough. It echoes. The dust makes your throat itch, and suddenly you're terrified that someone will hear and assume it's something worse. No one does. You finish the task and leave quietly. None. More prayer, always more. Then the abbot makes an announcement. Tomorrow is a feast day, the feast of Saint Benedict. This is good news. You will eat more, slightly. There may even be cheese, but it also means preparation. You are assigned to clean the chapter house, the stone-floored meeting room where business and beatings alike are conducted. The room is filled with echoes and a faint smell of damp wool. You scrub the flagstones with a bundle of reeds tied together. It is slow work. Your knees ache. Your wrists burn. The water sloshes and spreads more grime than it collects. Brother Ethelstan enters and nods at your work. That's it, a monk's praise, a nod. It fills you with pride and shame in equal parts. Vespers arrives. You sing a little louder than usual, not with joy, with muscle memory. The notes rise and fall in patterns that comfort you now. Even if the meaning behind them has long since blurred, dinner is improved, not by content, still bread and broth, but by warmth. Someone had the good sense to reheat the soup, and it arrives steaming. You sip it gratefully. Compline follows. The chapel is candlelit, and for the first time today, you feel something close to peace. It's brief, but it's there. You walk back to your cell. The hallway is dark and quiet. The flickering light of a single torch casts dancing shadows on the stone. Your feet ache. Your shoulders are raw from the day's work. Your belly rumbles, but not from hunger this time. From the garlic, you lie down. Your robe is still slightly damp. Your cell smells like hay and old beans. You curl your legs to warm them and press your hands between your knees. Outside, the wind howls. Inside, you are still. And then, the bell. It's always the bell. You lie in the dark, and for a moment you think the day is over, but it isn't. Not for you. Not tonight. The great silence has begun. That sacred stretch between Compline and Matins when no voices are allowed to disturb the peace. No jokes, no whispers, no gasps of pain. Just breath, wood, stone, and time. But sleep doesn't come. Your stomach churns the garlic. You knew it was too much. You could taste its ambition. Far too lively for food that was supposed to be penitent. Now it turns in your gut like a small, angry demon. You roll onto your side and clutch your belly. The wind outside picks up. It slides through the cracks in the stone walls, nudging its way into your cell like a curious intruder. You can hear it in the rafters above. A low, moaning whistle that sounds far too human, then comes the scratching. At first it's faint. You try to ignore it, but it's there. B. The chapel is darker than before. The candles burn lower. A few monks sway as they kneel, sleep gripping them by the throat. You join them. You kneel. You chant. The same psalm as yesterday. The same as the day before that. You could do it in your sleep. You probably are. One monk collapses, not dramatically, just tilts, hits the stone, doesn't get up. No one gasps. No one moves. Eventually, Brother Ethelstan quietly lifts him by the shoulders and helps him sit. The monk blinks. Still chanting, Matins continues, You wonder if God gets bored of this, of you, of watching men stumble around half-dead whispering syllables they don't understand. You wonder if he laughs. You almost do. But you catch yourself. Joy is dangerous. After Matins, the monks file out again. It's still the middle of the night. You return to your cell, not to sleep, but to pause. You lie down. Your back is a web of knots. Your fingers twitch from yesterday's copying. You close your eyes, then your ears catch something new. Footsteps, not in the corridor, outside, in the garden. You sit up. There's a window slit in your cell, just wide enough for moonlight and worry. You move toward it and peer out. A figure, one of the brothers, pacing in the herb garden. Not working, just walking, slowly back and forth. It's Brother Hugh, the one who coughed at dinner. He's clutching his robe, hunched over. You can't see his face, but his shape is wrong, like he's caving inward. You watch him stop at the lavender bush. Then he doubles over. You can't hear it, but you know he's coughing. Again and again you step away from the window. You lie back down. You try not to think of the signs, of the fever, of the plague that still haunts the land. The monastery was spared last year mostly, but these walls are old. These cells are tight. These robes are shared. You close your eyes. You wonder if tomorrow you'll be Rhea. Breakfast arrives in the usual sequence. You sit with your brothers. You chew the same hard bread. You swallow the same thin ale. You listen to the same reading. Today the passage is from the Psalms. For I am ready to fall, and my sorrow is continually before me. You don't believe in signs, but your eyes drift to the empty seat beside Brother Cadfan. That was where Hugh sat yesterday. No one has touched it. After the meal, you expect to be sent to the fields again, but instead, the prior clears his throat. He never does that unless something unpleasant is about to be shared. Brother Hugh, he says quietly, has taken ill. He will remain in isolation. You feel your stomach sink, not with fear, not exactly, but with confirmation. The prior says no more. No one asks questions. That would be against the rule. But you can feel the shift in the room, a tightening, a collective tensing, like a thread pulled too taut. You are assigned to clean the chapel steps. Outside, the wind has picked up. It cuts through your robe as if it knows exactly where to aim. You wrap your sleeves tighter and descend with your bucket and your rag. The chapel steps are worn smooth by centuries of knees. You scrub at the edges where moss has taken hold, clinging like sin to stone. Each swipe of the cloth sends a cold spatter up your arm. You breathe through it. You think about nothing. You become the cloth, the stone, the motion. Brother Aldwin walks past you and nods. His nose is red, his lips cracked. He doesn't say anything. No one does. The monastery is quieter today. Inside, Sext comes early. Or maybe time has simply collapsed again. You kneel in the chapel and glance at the high windows. Sunlight is trying to break through. Failing? You do not see Brother Hugh. You do not ask. Lunch is pottage again, now thickened into something resembling regret. You eat slowly. There's less talking, less. Beneath the weight of obligation, the day darkens, the wind sharpens, and by the time Vespers arrives, the air has changed again. someone else is coughing. You do not turn to see who. Vespers ends in coughing. Not loud, not panicked, just quiet, dry, and close. You keep your eyes forward. You pretend not to notice. That is the rule here. Do not see what cannot be helped. Do not acknowledge the decay unless it leaks directly into your task. Your knees ache from kneeling. Your throat is dry from chanting. You rise with the others. Robes rustling like dying leaves. The chapel empties slowly. You don't know who coughed, and you do not want to know. Outside, the wind has died down, but the cold has deepened. It's the kind of cold that doesn't shout. It whispers. It seeps into the marrow. It finds your softer parts and presses against them, gently, until you are convinced it lives inside you. You walk back to the cloister and pause in the arcade. The garden is dark. The herbs are still. The lavender bush where Hugh collapsed last night is now missing several sprigs. The infirmarian must have taken them. Or perhaps someone else needed the scent of calm. You almost do. Dinner is thinner than usual. Pea broth. No bread. A fast day again. You forgot. You sip slowly, grateful for the warmth, if not the taste. Brother Thomas sits beside you, eyes half closed. He has not spoken all day. You notice his knuckles, raw and red, cracked from scrubbing or cold or both. The reader is reciting from Revelations. You do not like Revelations. It is too vivid, too close to real. Dragons, plagues, fire, judgment. You hear the words and think not of symbols but of fevers and blood and the sound Hugh made in his sleep. You stare at your bowl. You count the peas left, you wish for bread, and then feel guilty for the wishing. After the meal, the abbot stands and raises a hand. Brother Hugh had been moved to isolation. Moved, another word that means worse. You are instructed to stay within your assigned tasks. No one is to visit the East Wing without direct permission. There are no exceptions. Silence follows. Then the scrape of benches. Then, feet against stone, Compline arrives, and you kneel one last time. You try to keep your focus, but your mind drifts. You wonder if the fever will spread, if the next cough will come from your own chest, if you will be moved to the bed with the vinegar rags and no final rites. You finish the last chant, you bow your head, and then the great silence begins again. You return to your cell. You do not light a candle tonight. You do not want to see the walls or the floor or the shadow of the rat that visits sometimes. You sit in the dark, holding the silence in your mouth like a bitter wafer. Outside your door, someone is walking. Soft steps, then a pause, then a knock. 3 taps, not aloud, not at this hour. No speaking, no sounds. No interruption of the quiet. You wait. Another knock. This time softer. You rise, you crack the door open. It's Brother Cadfan. His face is pale, his eyes wide. He does not speak, of course. He gestures, 2 fingers toward the cloister, then a shrug. You understand. He heard something. You follow him silently, robes brushing the stone as you move. The air in the hallway is thick, not with warmth, but with something worse. Anticipation. You reach the arcade together. He points. A figure is standing in the garden. In the dark, you both squint. It is not moving, not pacing, not praying, just standing. It might be a statue. It might not. You look at Cadfan. He looks back at you. Neither of you speaks. You are not allowed. But in that moment, silence says everything. You retreat, together, slowly, back to your cell, back to the dark, back to your slab of wood and linen. You lie down with your heart too loud in your chest. You stare at the ceiling. You wait for the bell, but it doesn't come. Not yet. Instead, there's something else. Somewhere in the silence, a sound. Metal. Dragging. A latch, maybe, or a lock, or a shovel. You do not move. You close your eyes and you pray, not for salvation, but for sleep. Because if this day doesn't end soon, you may forget what it means for anything to end at all. You lie in the dark, unmoving. That sound, the metal, it stopped. But silence doesn't bring relief. It only sharpens your hearing. Now you catch everything. The creak of beams above you, the distant moan of wind through a broken shutter, a drop of water hitting stone, the scratch of a nail on wood, though that might be your imagination or a rat, always a rat. You tell yourself it was nothing, a latch, a bucket, someone closing a gate late. You almost believe it. Eventually, the dark thickens into sleep, but only for a short while. The bell rings, you flinch, not from the sound, from the fact that you forgot it would come. You thought maybe time had broken, maybe the day had folded in on itself. But no, the bell still has power here. You dress again, moving slowly now. Every joint has stiffened. Your robe feels colder than it should. The hallway feels longer. You reach the chapel, and again you kneel. This time there are fewer of you. No one says it. No one counts aloud, but the space between monks is wider. There's a hole where Hugh once sat, another near the back. Matins begins. You chant with a cracked voice. Your throat is raw. You hope it's from the cold. You hope it's not something else. Someone coughs again. It's dry, short, but louder than before, still no names. After the service, you return to your cell, but you don't lie down. Sleep would be pointless. You sit on the slab and pull your robe tighter. You try to pray, your thoughts wander. You think of Hugh, and then, unhelpfully, you think of your sister again. The same one, fevered, cold, one day burning the next, then cold again, too cold. You feel that same chill now, but yours, from the wind, not the sickness. Probably. The bell rings for prime. You rise this morning's task, the scriptorium, a small mercy. The scriptorium is dry, at least, warm if you're lucky, and sit near the brazier. You take your seat with 3 others. All are silent. All look like they haven't slept in years. You are handed a new page, parchment, smooth, slightly yellowed. The quill scratches against it with a sound like dry leaves. You copy Latin you don't understand. You recognize Dominus and Peccatum. Lord, sin. You write those a lot. You catch yourself staring at your own handwriting. It looks foreign. You realize you've written the same line twice. No one corrects you. They probably didn't notice, or they don't care. You glance over at Brother Edmund. He's breathing heavily. His hands shake slightly as he dips his quill. Ink spills. He doesn't wipe it. He just stares. You look away, the hours stretch, the light shifts, eventually the bell rings for terce. You kneel again, you feel faint this time, your belly growls. It hasn't done that in days. It's not hunger, exactly. It's more like your body reminding you that it's still here, still expecting something, anything. After prayer, you're sent to help in the kitchen. The cook isn't speaking today. His apprentice isn't there at all. You peel onions in silence. Your fingers sting from the juice. Your eyes water. It feels good, somehow, to have tears with a cause. You think of Hugh. You think of Edmund. You think of your sister again. You cut your thumb, not deep, just enough to remind you that you have blood. You suck it, then rinse it in a bowl of water that hasn't been changed since yesterday. Lunch arrives. Bread, pottage, a hard root vegetable you can't identify. You chew it anyway. Your jaw hurts. Your tongue feels strange. You wonder when you last tasted something with flavor. You sit next to Brother Cad. Fan again, he doesn't eat, just stares at his hands. He doesn't look sick, but you've learned by now. That means nothing. You don't speak, you're not allowed. But even if you were, what would you say? After lunch, you're sent to the cloister walk. Your task, sweeping. It's simple, meditative. You move slowly, broom scratching over stone. The breeze flutters your robe like a second breath. You feel the sun, weak but real, on your cheek. You almost forget the coughs, almost. Brother Aldwin passes you. His face looks different. Red, puffy, you think. No, you're sure. His neck is swollen. He sees you looking. He turns away. You sweep faster. Vespers comes again. Or maybe it's none, time is folding. The bell rings, you kneel again. Now, there are 3 empty places. 3, you do not know who the last one was. You chant louder this time, just to fill the space. Your voice cracks. Afterward, the abbot speaks quietly in the cloister. All brothers are to sleep in their own cells tonight, he says. No visitation, no wandering. He doesn't say why, he doesn't have to. You walk back to your cell, you pass the infirmary wing. The door is shut. You smell something, strong, medicinal, sharp, not vinegar this time. Something worse. You turn away, back in your cell, you lie down. The cold is inside your robe now, inside your breath. You try to remember the psalms, the right ones, the ones for protection. You whisper one, you listen for the rat. But tonight, for the first time in many nights, it doesn't come. You wonder if it found someone else, and then the bell. But it's not the right bell, not matins, not prime. It's the death bell. 3 slow tolls, then silence, then nothing. Not even wind, you lie still. 3 tolls, not 2, not 4. 3, the death bell doesn't lie. It tolls only when the soul has left the body, not when sickness begins, not when fever spikes, only when the monk has passed beyond the walls, out of the rule, out of the work, out of time. You stare into the dark, you don't cry, you wouldn't even know how. Instead, you listen, for movement in the corridor, for the creak of the infirmary door, for someone walking, anyone, nothing. The bell echoes in your chest for a long time after it fades from the air. Then silence. Eventually, you doze, not full sleep. Something lighter, something less forgiving. A floating state, like being tied to a rock underwater. And then, again, the scrape, the soft drag of wood on stone. It's just outside your cell. You open your eyes, you don't move, you know that sound. It's the stretcher. They don't use it for the living. The sound passes, slow. No voices accompany it. Only breathing, feet, wood, breath. You don't try to see. You wait. Then footsteps returning, quicker this time, urgent, 2 sets, a whisper. Then silence. You close your eyes, you do not sleep again. At some unknown hour, the bell rings, matins. Maybe lauds, you don't know anymore. You rise, your robe clings to your skin, cold with sweat or damp, or maybe just fear. You walk the hall and find the others. Fewer now, always fewer. The chapel feels hollow. The space left behind by the dead takes up more room than the living. You kneel, you chant, your voice breaks, someone behind you sobs once, then smothers it. After the prayers, you are sent not to work, but to dig. The graveyard behind the monastery is quiet. Too quiet. The ground is hard. Not frozen, not yet, but resistant. The spade shakes in your hands. Your knuckles bleed. You and Brother Cadfan dig together. Neither of you speaks. At some point he pauses, sets his spade down, and vomits into the grass. You turn away, he does too. The pit deepens. By the time it's done, the sun is overhead, though you never saw it rise. The corpse arrives in silence. It's wrapped in a woolen cloth, tied at the feet, bound at the head. You don't ask who it is, you don't look. You help lower it. He weight surprises you. Not heavy, exactly, but strange, like it's holding on to something you can't see. The prior says a prayer, a short one. Then the dirt returns. Thud, thud, thud. You do not linger after. You wash your hands in a trough behind the refectory. The water is black with soil and other things. Your hands tremble. You sit in your cell until the bell rings again. Terce, or sext, or maybe none. You're not sure. All the hours sound the same now. You eat a crust of bread. You chew it for what feels like an hour. Your jaw aches. Your throat burns. Brother Edmund is not at the table. You count the heads again, out of habit, out of fear. No one says his name. After the meal, you are sent to the chapter house. A new task. You are to copy the names of the dead. There's a ledger, thick, heavy, stained with candle wax and the fingerprints of decades. You open it. The last name is written in precise Gothic script. You write the new one beneath it. You hesitate before you finish the name. You wonder if someone will write yours one day. How many pages are left? You don't ask, you don't look up. Later, you pass Brother Aldwin in the corridor. He is sweating. His robe is damp at the collar. He nods to you, but his eyes are glassy. You keep walking. Back in the scriptorium, the air is thick. One candle sputters. You copy verses from the Gospels. Let not your heart be troubled. You underline it, then you cross it out, then you underline it again. You don't know why. You finish the page and close the book. Your fingers are smudged with ink and something darker. You wipe them on your robe. The bell rings again. You kneel again. The empty spaces grow. Again. You try not to breathe too deeply. Again. You lie in your cell that night with the blanket pulled tight. You think you hear a chant in the hallway, but no bell rang. You think you see light under your door, but you lit no candle. You think you feel warmth on your cheek, but no one is there. Then the scratching returns. Not a rat this time. You're sure of it. You whisper a psalm under your breath. The noise stops. You curl in tighter. You sleep, finally, but only because your body gives out. The bell does not ring. Not this time. You wonder if that means morning will not come. You wake up, but it doesn't feel like waking. It feels like being pulled to the surface of something heavy, as if your dreams, if they were dreams, had weight. You blink into the dark, expecting the bell, the footsteps, the ritual that tells your body what to do next. But the bell doesn't ring. There is no sound. No one moves. That's the part that startles you. The stillness. You rise slowly, muscles locking and cracking like old wood. You open your cell door. The hallway is empty. No footsteps, no candles, just that cold air, thick with something you can't name. You make your way toward the chapel anyway, out of habit or fear, or both. When you reach it, you find 3 monks already there, kneeling, waiting. No one speaks. You kneel too. The stone feels colder than usual. The silence doesn't feel sacred anymore. It feels abandoned. Eventually, someone begins to chant, not the abbot, not the cantor, just one of the brothers. His voice cracks midway through the first psalm, and no one joins him. He stops. Silence returns. The 4 of you sit there, listening to nothing. Eventually, the sky shifts. Morning, maybe. You rise and return to your cell. You still haven't eaten. You're not sure there will be food today. You're not sure there are enough hands left to prepare it. Still, when the bell rings for prime, finally, late and uncertain, you go. The cloister looks different now. There are fewer shapes moving, fewer robes brushing the stone. Brother Cadfan walks past you, face flushed, eyes downcast. He holds a cloth to his mouth. He doesn't stop. You continue to the refectory. There's food, but only barely. A bowl of barley broth, cold, a crust of bread so dry it might outlast. You chew slowly. Your jaw aches. No one reads aloud today. No psalm, just spoons, swallows, breaths, and a cough. Then another. The abbot enters the hall. He looks tired, paler than usual. His voice is thin when he speaks. "Brothers," he says, "we will cease all unnecessary duties today. There will be silence, prayer, and rest." The phrase unnecessary duties feels absurd. Everything here is unnecessary. But no one says that. You nod. After the meal, you are sent back to your cell. You sit, you pray, you listen. Nothing. At some point, someone knocks on your door. One knock. Soft, you open it. Brother Aldwin stands there. His eyes are red, his hands shake. He gestures to the garden. You follow. The 2 of you walk beneath the arcade, past the herb beds, into the far end of the yard. It's quieter here. No birds, no bees, just weeds and a dying lavender bush. He kneels by a patch of earth, freshly dug. "Brother Edmund," he whispers. You look down. It's not a grave yet, just a hole, not marked, not named. Aldwin coughs hard into his sleeve. You take a step back. He stands and walks away without another word. You don't follow. Instead, you sit on a bench in the garden near the rosemary, which is said to help with memory. You stare at the herbs, Britaille and Grey, and wonder if they remember anything at all. You stay there until the bell calls for sext. The chant is thin. 5 voices, maybe 6. You don't look around. You chant slowly. One line catches in your throat. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you pause, you swallow, you keep going. After the service, you return to the chapter house. You're asked to record the names again. You see that someone else has already begun 2 names written in different handwriting, rushed, slanted. One you recognize, one you don't. You add another beneath them, then stare at the page for a long time. The ink dries slowly. Later, you're asked to clean the altar. It's a privilege, normally. Now it feels like preparing a tomb. You wipe the stone carefully, using G, a damp cloth, and a sprig of hyssop. Symbolic cleansing. Even if it won't remove the sickness, you do it anyway. Your hands tremble slightly as you polish the brass. You whisper a psalm, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean." You wonder if it works on fear. Compline arrives early. There is no reader, no abbot, no cantor, just the last of you, gathered like shadows, swaying in prayer. One monk sings off key. No one corrects him. You all sound like ghosts now anyway. You return to your cell in the darkness. No one walks in the halls, no candles are lit. You lie down and wrap yourself tightly in your robe. The silence feels heavier than the stone walls. And just before you fall into sleep, shallow, flickering, uncertain, you hear it again. The death bell. Once, twice, 3 times, then nothing, not even your own breath. You don't get up right away. The death bell finishes its 3rd toll, and you just lie there, blanket over your chest, eyes open. You feel the sound still vibrating somewhere behind your ribs, like it's trying to pull something out of you. You wonder who it was this time. There aren't many options left. You don't want to guess, you don't want to care, but you do, you always do. Eventually, your legs remember how to move. You sit up slowly. Your back protests. Your head throbs. Your mouth tastes like sour bread and metal. There's no bell for matins tonight. You rise anyway, not out of obedience, out of inertia. The hallway is darker than usual. No torchlight, no footsteps, no whispered prayers, just your own breath fogging in front of your face. You walk to the chapel. 2 monks are already there. You join them without a word. No one leads the chant, so you begin just a single verse. The Lord is my shepherd. Your voice cracks on Lord. The others join you halfway through. It's not harmony, it's not beautiful, but it's still prayer. You foot. Niche in silence. No one rises. You all just sit, bones against stone, waiting for something to shift. Eventually, Brother Cadfan speaks, a whisper. "I saw him," he says. No one asks who. He continues. He wasn't buried yet, just lying there in the east wing, wrapped, alone. The silence tightens around the 3 of you. Someone coughs, not him, not you. You don't turn to look. You wait until the others leave. You stay longer. In the chapel, watching the candles burn lower, one by one they sputter, and then it's just you and the wax and the cold. You rise. You don't go back to your cell. Not yet. Instead, you take the long hallway toward the infirmary, the forbidden wing. You don't know why. Curiosity, guilt, boredom, some mix of all three. The corridor leading to it smells different now, thicker, like vinegar and sweat and something sour underneath. You pass the door, it's ajar. No lock. You push it open. Inside, beds. Empty, mostly, but not all. One figure, still, wrapped, not moving, not breathing. You step closer. You do not uncover the face, you simply kneel beside the bed. You say a psalm aloud, though your voice trembles, not for them. For you. You finish, you rise, you turn to leave. But something makes you stop. In the far corner of the infirmary, you see another figure, sitting, not lying down, not wrapped, alive, Brother Aldwin. He's looking at you, not moving. You stare at each other. Then he speaks, barely audible. I didn't want to die alone. You don't answer. There is no answer. You step forward. He gestures toward a bowl of water. Can you? You nod. You fetch it. You dip a cloth. You press it gently to his forehead. His skin is hot. Too hot. He closes his eyes. He doesn't speak again. You stay there for a while. Time dissolves. Eventually, he sleeps, maybe. You return to your cell. It's nearly dawn now, or so you think. You lie down and feel every muscle loosen at once, like your body has decided it's finished with structure. You drift, not into real sleep, but into that space monks live in, the liminal place between silence and decay. You wake later. The sun has risen, the chapel bell rings, 3 tones, but not for death, just for morning prayer. You rise, slower now, you dress, you walk the corridor again. This time you see more doors closed than usual, more cells empty, but a few remain, still breathing, still praying. You join them, you kneel, you chant. The voices are soft but not gone, and that feels like something. You chant, and the words feel like air passing through cracked glass. But they hold together, somehow the service ends. You do not bow this time. You simply rise, body aching, and step out into the cloister. Morning light washes the arcade, pale, thin, but light. You haven't seen the sun in what feels like days, or maybe you have, and it didn't matter. Now it does. The herbs in the garden are wilted, but not dead. A few stalks of sage stand crooked in the frost. Rosemary clings to life like it still believes in spring. You find yourself sitting on the bench near the edge of the beds, the spot where Cadfan told you about the body, where Aldwin vomited, where you began to understand just how thin the rule really is. You rub your fingers together. Ink stains, dirt, wax, blood. It's all the same color now. Someone walks past behind you. Not a monk, not anymore. It's the gravedigger, not a brother of the order, just a hired man from the village. He doesn't make eye contact. He's pulling a cart. There's another body on it, wrapped, tied at the feet. You look away. You try not to count anymore. Later, the refectory bell rings. Lunch, or something like it. The bread is smaller. The broth is thinner. But the spoons still scrape bowls. and for the first time in days, someone offers a reading. Brother Cadfan. He stands, shaking but upright. He opens a psalter, flips to a page and reads, "Though I am lowly and despised, I do not forget your precepts." His voice is thin but steady. 80. You swallow slowly. The broth sticks in your throat. After the meal, the prior announces a change. "Today," he says softly, "there will be no more burials." You blink. He pauses, then clarifies, "We will wait until the ground softens, until we have the strength." The room stays still. No one reacts. No one asks the obvious. Where will the bodies go in the meantime? You already know, the chapel likely, or the empty cells. They won't tell you because they don't want to break you further, not when you're already so close to cracking. The day continues. You're sent to the scriptorium again. There are only 2 of you now. The other monk is new. A novice, barely older than a child. He doesn't look up from the page once. You can hear his quill tremble against the parchment. You write a single sentence, then stop, then rewrite it, then cross it out. You're not sure what the words mean anymore. Eventually you close the book, you walk back into the cloister and sit again. The sun is lower now. Your shadow stretches long across the garden path. You watch it move. You don't think about Hugh or Edmund or Aldwin, whose bed was empty when you passed the infirmary. You just sit and watch and breathe. For a while that feels like prayer. Later, at Compline, there are 4 of you, 4 voices in a chapel built for 30. The sound echoes oddly, too much space, too much memory. The candles burn lower. You do not speak. You do not bow. You do not finish the final psalm. You simply remain kneeling. After a while, Brother Cadfan leans toward you, and for the first time in days, someone speaks a full sentence. Quiet, shaky, almost nothing, but everything, he says. "We're still here, that's it." And then silence returns. You walk back to your cell, you pass the empty ones, you pass the ones with doors cracked open, with stillness behind them. You sit on your cot. You exhale. You pull the blanket over your knees. The rat is back tonight. You hear it rustling under the cot. But you don't shoo it. You let it stay. At least something else is breathing.